How to retire at 50. So is this just a pipe dream? For example, if you're 30 and want to retire at 50, you've got 20 years of savings to generate 40 plus years of income, assuming that you live to age 90 or more. I think that's a big ask if you don't have a proper plan. So step one is, where are you at? Look at your income, look at your expenses, but in real depth, where is the money actually going? Look at your assets, including past pensions from old employers that you've got, and your liabilities. So income less expenses, that's what you can invest. And you can have a jar system to save for money for things like holidays or a new laptop, and I'll cover that a bit later. And I've also done a video on budgeting, which is really useful, and I'll put a link to that, and there's a free file and you can construct your budget. So if we look at Maslow, people can be retired and be at this freedom part of the esteem on the pyramid. So they're not actually at the top where they're being the most that they can be. So you can be retired with not much money and you've got freedom, but you can't do all the things that you really want to do. So that's why it's really important, again, to come up with a plan. And you might be able to get a job that actually gives you this self-actualization. Could be working for someone else, or it could be self-employed, able to work from wherever you want and whenever you want. And it's also interesting to see where if your job doesn't give you things like respect, self-esteem and recognition, then is it really worthwhile staying at that company, and are you likely to get promoted within the company if certain things aren't really happening for you? So I really like this framework. If you want to retire early, you need to avoid lifestyle inflation. And examples are buying the biggest house that you can afford because houses go up in value, buying a new car regularly so you've got this status and everyone thinks you're successful, go on luxury holidays because you deserve it. Things like your TV's too small, your laptop's too slow, the battery life on your phone's no good, so you've got to buy a new one. And things like, well, I can never have enough pairs of jeans. So you've got to avoid getting stuck in the cycle of buying things that you don't really need and they don't really increase your happiness. So fear of missing out is really championed in the book The Millionaire Next Door, where it talks about how people that are truly wealthy often don't give off that impression when you first meet them, and people that you think, wow, this guy's so successful, and they've got a huge mortgage and like a huge car loan and student debt, and they're just sort of drowning in it all. So to buy the car at the top rather than the car at the bottom means that you've got this basic need, but it's at a very high cost to you. And I would suggest you want to become the millionaire next door and then buy the Porsche, rather than buy the Porsche and wonder why you're not a millionaire. And remember that excess consumption is bad for both you and the planet. So you can have anything within reason, but you can't have everything. And I think it's Paula Pant that came up with that. So you need to align your expenditure with your values. Allow yourself one luxury, but not every luxury. So paying yourself first is really important. You get your gross pay, then you've got your pension and any additional voluntary contributions. So this is contractual, and you'll set this up with your employer. You've then got taxes, take-home pay. So from your take-home pay, this is now the jar system, and you put money into an ISA every month, and that's like pretty much the first thing you do and not the last thing you do. Then you have an account for your bills and direct debits, so those all get settled. You've got money for food and day-to-day spend, and then you've got some short-term saving. So this is for things like holidays, or if your car breaks down, or if you need a new three-piece suite. It's all those sorts of things. This is where the money comes from. So you're always saving and you're always building up this reserve, and it's never that this going on holiday swamps the ability to save. And if you get this set up correctly, you've got this monthly habit and you can actually save money every single month. Also, have a monthly finance meeting with your spouse, and you just discuss, okay, the month's just ended, what was our income, what are our expenses, particularly the major bills, were we able to invest, and was that in line with our plan or not. So you look at what happened in the prior month, and also, well, what's coming up in the future in the next month, and look at whether you're on track or not. So what to invest in? Well, typically a global stock market tracker that may or may not include emerging markets. You need to research this thoroughly, and a coach like myself can help with how to research passive funds, but they can't give advice on which one to select. So how to invest? Well, we've got the company pension, salary sacrifice. We've covered that in the previous diagram. You've got a self-invested personal pension, especially if you get 40% tax relief. So this can actually run alongside anything you've got on the company basis. And then you invest in an ISA to bridge the gap between your retirement age, in this case 50, and eligibility for a SIPP, which is like 57, 58. And don't ignore your ISA, or you could end up at the last minute trying to stuff it full of money when you could actually be getting decent tax relief on a SIPP. So for wealth allocation, you need it split between your house, pensions, and ISAs, and you don't need too much in any one of these buckets. So if you've got not enough in an ISA, then you can't actually retire early because the SIPP doesn't kick in. And if you've got like too much money in your house, then you're kind of living beyond your needs, and too much of your income is going into paying off mortgage debt. So how much money do I need? Well, according to the PLSA, for comfortable living and a couple, you need 54,500, moderate living 34,000. And the wealth needed to generate this depends on many factors, including how much you're expecting to receive as a state pension. So it's best to really model the optimal solution for yourself. So hopefully by now you've realized that you need a plan, that often with the financial independence retire early movement, the what is quite well defined, but how to actually get it is much more difficult, and it's not well defined, particularly the milestones along the way. Some resources to help include the book Reset by David Sawyer, and I really like physical books with an index. I can easily find what I want. I don't get lost like in websites. Another thing is the work of Alan and Katie Donegan, particularly the Rebel Finance School. You can just Google that. It's all free content and there's no hidden agenda, and they actually came up with the monthly finance meeting that I discussed earlier. So here is a model, an Excel spreadsheet that I build for my coaching clients, and it just looks at your wealth over time, and here's the accumulation phase, and then here's the decumulation phase in retirement, and it looks at SIPPs, it looks at ISAs, it looks at an emergency fund in terms of tax investment or just a bank account, and it really helps people to get milestones and to know where they are. It also looks at the sources of your income over time. So initially you've got like salary, then you've got ISAs, then a SIPP can kick in for one person, then the other person, then the state pension kicks in, and the SIPP is reduced because you've not got much personal allowance left. So the whole model really helps you to be as tax efficient as you can be. So this plan should generate questions. Things like, can one of us work part-time whilst raising the children, or do we both have to work full-time? Can I see promotions or salary growth within my current company, or should I be looking around? Should I work part-time or flexibly after I'm 50 to keep some money coming in? And with a flexible model, you can run different scenarios and keep an open mind. So the solution, and I'll put a link to the video here, and I advise you to click on that next, is to build a versatile spreadsheet that is infinitely customizable, and I've got exactly that. I can save you a lot of time. The advantage is that you own the data permanently and you just update it for changes to tax bands every year. And I coach you in the best way to fill it in, and I'm a sounding board to bounce ideas off. So you don't have to be on your own just trying to do things. And if you're interested, I'll put a link in the description and you can contact me and we can get the ball rolling.